With the Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
This is your captain speaking. We've got clear runway and the weather's fine, but we're just going to circle up here a while and get lucky. No, nothing like that. It's just these cash prizes add up quick. So I suggest you sit back, keep your tray table upright, and start getting lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
It is Ryan here, and I have a question for you. What do you do when you win? Like, are you a fist pumper, a woohooer, a hand clapper, a high fiver? I kind of like the high five, but if you want to hone in on those winning moves, check out Chumba Casino. At ChumbaCasino.com, choose from hundreds of social casino-style games for your chance to redeem serious cash prizes. There are new game releases weekly, plus free daily bonuses, so don't wait. Start having the most fun ever at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
With the Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
This is your captain speaking. We've got clear runway and the weather's fine, but we're just going to circle up here a while and get lucky. No, nothing like that. It's just these cash prizes add up quick. So I suggest you sit back, keep your tray table upright, and start getting lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
You're listening to the RAP podcast, the Welsh Regional Rugby Appreciation Pod, where we try to cover all the important issues on and off the field in Welsh Regional and National Rugby. If you'd like to get in touch with the show, all of that information is at the end, so you'll just have to bear with us and get to that bit. In the meantime, enjoy this week's show. Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the RAP podcast. Very special editions. Joining me as usual, I've got Jamie, Carwyn and Reese. How are we, gents?
Oh yeah,
evening. Well, thank you.
Yeah,
all good.
But we're on best behaviour tonight. We're on best behaviour because we've got a special guest. So joining us this evening is Chairman of the Dragons, David Buttress. Good evening, David. How are you?
Good evening. I'm very well, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, you're very welcome. You're very welcome. It's really nice to actually know that someone in your position is actually listening to the fans. If that makes sense, it's quite rare. It's quite feather for us. When Jamie said, David Buttress said he'll come on, it was like, you know, when your kids at Christmas when they open the present and they go, look at that. It was one of them. So
you didn't wake up at 5 o'clock this morning because that's going to be a real anticlimax. But no, it's my pleasure. Seriously, because you know, I don't know. It shouldn't be, should it? You know, I think if you come from the business world, talking to your customers, if you like, or partners and stakeholders is probably the single most important thing you have to do. So I understand why you say that. But I think it's incredibly odd that that's the case.
Yeah, it is. So if anyone's listening, if any of the other three are listening, you know, David may have beaten you to it, but, you know, everybody's welcome. We'll bang some emails out next week. So before we start with all the exciting stuff, then what did you make of yesterday's game up in Ystrad?
I suppose, well, look, first of all, it was like... bit of a tale. If you watch a lot of Dragons rugby, I thought there was. I think we play really good style. I mean, I think we're great to watch now under Dye, and I think we're very easy on the eye. I think we play some great rugby. It's a shame we wait until the games feels like it's drifted away before we start doing it. So I think, you know, being at Ystrad probably disadvantaged us. I think a bit Rodney Parade. I think the emotion, the crowd would have probably got us going a bit earlier. Not making excuses, but. I think being at the training ground probably meant that we weren't quite emotionally where we needed to be at the start, was my sense. It just took so long to get going. And I thought when we got going, we looked bloody great. But, just frustrating, really, because a home last 16 game would have been great financially. So it's not very often I lead with money when it comes to sport, because I think sport's emotional more than emotional. But yeah, that's probably the frustration for me. And I thought the players, even at the end, could have done it. You know, I thought the bench did brilliant. Not just Leon when he came on, but the whole bench. Brodie Coughlin did great. Ended up frustrated. Half time I was mortified. Full time, sort of, excited, delighted, but frustrated. I describe it as. But I'm pleased with where we're going. I think lots of young boys on the from the area playing for us from Gwent. I think Di Flanagan's got guys playing nicely. So from a spectator perspective, it was an exciting game to watch. I just wish we'd won. That's probably that could sum up my Dragons experience. Actually, it's been exciting. Just wish we'd won a bit more.
So on going to Ystrad Mynach then, so we've had a couple of questions on why it was moved to Ystrad Mynach. So yeah, why was it there? Why was it not Cardiff Arms Park? Or what was the decision process on that one?
Yeah, so you have to nominate a ground at the start of the season. So Cardiff Arms Park wasn't an option. Ystrad Mynach is our secondary venue. Obviously, we control access to it. We have primacy. We can go there. So we have to be able, in the rare eventualities that you move a fixture, you have to be able to nominate that before the season starts or the tournament starts. So it wasn't a case like on, I don't know, Thursday night, Friday night, you could call Cardiff and say, can we come down to your place? It was already Ystrad. It was always going to be Ystrad Mynach if we had to move the fixture. So that's just the tournament rules and regulations. So that was already there was no option on a secondary venue other than we were playing at Ystrad. I suppose my frustration with it was more, why couldn't we wait until the last minute at Rodney Parade a bit later? Because, why could we not move the kickoff back a bit, lean on the broadcasters and say, because at 3-4 o'clock, we definitely could have kicked off, I'm sure, at Rodney Parade. So there's little things like that. I get, I think rugby can do better with, in terms of just being a bit more pragmatic, think about the supporters, think about, the event, a bit like the NFL does. I see NFL games happening in blizzards, and I think that, and obviously there's a lot of money involved there, but I think rugby sometimes could be a bit more pragmatic. And I was a bit, frustrated on Saturday afternoon that the fixture was moved so early before we'd had the Saturday night into the Sunday. Because, just do a late inspection as possible. Could we slide the fixture back? To be fair to the Lions, they were happy to slide it back a bit in terms of kickoff time because they weren't travelling home till Monday, which meant we could have done it at Rodney Parade. But as it was, we were put under pressure to say you have to be able to guarantee the fixture at 1 o'clock tomorrow. As soon as we had to go under that pressure to guarantee the fixture at 1 o'clock, well, we could only go to Ystrad Mynach because given the outside temperatures, there was a pretty good chance at best it was going to be less than 50-50 on at Rodney Parade at 1 p.m. And once you're told you can't move the kickoff time back, then we had to go to Ystrad Mynach. So you can imagine how I felt about that from not just a financial perspective, but also from I think from a supportive experience and our partners and our sponsors and the players too, right? So I think rugby sometimes could just change a little bit, be a bit more pragmatic, be a bit more practical, and perhaps be a little bit more flexible. But anyway, it was what it was, and in the end, it was actually a good game to watch. To be fair, and the guys did a good job getting it on Ystrad. And to be fair to the Lions kicker, he clearly thought he was at altitude because he was banging in penalties and kicks over from everywhere. So I think the Lions coach must have told him, listen, this is just like being on the veldt. You can slap them over
the Glen Valleys.
He was hitting them from about 50-odd metres for about the first 10 minutes. So fair play to him.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, Rhys, you were gonna ask like a proper serious question, weren't you, man?
If I have them, yeah. It was just around your views on your sort of general views on the WIU, whether in their present form are they fit for purpose, and the sort of governments around the game at the moment. Especially because as supporters we get quite frustrated with everything we see in the news, and the threat of possibly they talk about losing regions and stuff like that. So just want to maybe your views on where the WIU and whether they're fit for purpose at the moment.
Look, I think I've been probably the most public, outspoken person. I got involved in Welsh rugby 4 or 5 years ago because I genuinely love the game. I grew up around it with my granddad, who was involved with obviously rugby in Pontypool and the district there. And I remember. So I got, like all of you, I grew up loving the game, being a ball boy at Pontypool Park. Some of my happy memories of childhood. We're knocking around with my granddad watching rugby matches and around clubhouses. Waiting for the players to eat so I could have sausage, mash and chip peas or whatever. So, they were happy memories, and so that sense of being the community and being in love with the game, if you like, and then obviously watching the national team latterly, has been, and then getting involved with the Dragons ultimately because of that passion. So I got involved in the game. I guess what I'm trying to say, I got involved in the game because I love the game, and I want Welsh rugby to win World Cups. I want the women's game to win World Cups, the men's game. I want the game to thrive. I want all the regions to be successful, or the clubs, as I prefer to call them. And I want the community game to thrive. So I just love the game. And so when I see what I see, which is one of the things that shocked me when I got involved in the game, is that the game is run in Wales, as you know, by largely enthusiastic sort of amateurs, if you like, at a boardroom level. And that's not a criticism, any of them, because often they're, and it sounds like it is a criticism, but what I want to say is that they love the game as much as you or I do, and they give a hell of a lot to the game and deserve recognition for that. But for me, and I've said this publicly before, you cannot run £100 million professional business, with the spirit of enthusiastic amateurism. You have to run it with professionals who have built, run, operated appropriate level scale businesses, because it requires these days that level of expertise. And I've, the same way, as a kid when I was growing up, I've said, I always wanted to be like lots of kids. I want to be an astronaut when I grew up, or a pilot, but the truth is, I wouldn't say to any of you or me, get on a plane with me if I was piloting it, because it would crash and I'd kill us all. Because I don't have the skills to do it. I don't have the
personality.
Yes, big analogy.
Yeah, and I would love to have done that as a kid. I'd love to have been an astronaut as an adult, but I wouldn't get on the rocket now and pilot it. And I think that's what concerns me most about, I guess, the governance of the game, is we need reform so that everyone can play to their strengths, So let's have the people who are most skilled and experienced to run the areas that are relevant, whether it's the community game, the women's game, the men's game, the professional side of the game. And let's support each other. Let's not pretend that the governance as was constituted 100 years ago is the right governance structure in 2023 with all the challenges of professionalism. I think we're just setting each other up to fail to some extent in that regard. So, I would do it from the spirit of, please, come on. If we all love the game, which I think we all do, I haven't met a person yet who's involved in Welsh rugby that doesn't care deeply about it. If that's the case, let's get out of the way of each other and make sure that we have the right governance structure, because we don't at the minute. It's not suitable, and it's not fit for how it's currently set up. So it does need to change, and it needs to change for the right reasons, which is actually we all want it to be successful. But are you right to ask the question? I think you definitely are. And I'm surprised it's taken this long. I really am. And it concerns me that it takes this long. I don't understand why it's that complicated and difficult to reform something that clearly needs to change.
Yeah, that's a good answer.
I think Rupert Moon said something similar about how enthusiastic they are, and they love their rugby in there, but it's just, are they those right people to run a business? And I think that's what a lot of people feel at the moment. And hopefully a way will be found forward for that.
But you have to think how complex it is, right? I mean, it took me, when I was running Just Eat, as you know, from your professional background, these things, you don't do something, you don't leave school at 18 and then, end up as a CEO or something on the FTSE index overnight. I was, that was 20 years of training, of making mistakes, having really good managers that supported you, developed you, learning on the job, cocking things up, and then, being held to account for that, so that eventually you get to the point where you can take responsibility for ever bigger parts of a business, or eventually a business. But it took 20 years. And, I sort of look at it and think, what do you expect to happen if you put people into roles who just don't have that context and background? It's just not, it's a very unlikely to work. And is it being the best we can be? And it's not, because if you think we all want to win World Cups, we all want to win Grand Slams. I would love to see, the clubs winning European Cups or participate in the top ends of the league. Well, to do that, you're competing against the very best in the world who are perhaps doing the right things, who have got the right structures in place, who have got the right people in the right seat in the bus. And if you're competing against that and you haven't yet put that stuff in place, you're making it bloody difficult for yourself. And I think sometimes we're almost, as a result of that, making it harder for us as Wales to compete. And we should get everything out of the way of being successful. We should get anything that holds that possibility of winning a World Cup, for example, out of the way, because there's no reason why Wales shouldn't be winning World Cups.
Absolutely.
I like that. I like that.
So, Jamie, you had a follow-up question to that.
I did. First of all, I'd just say thanks to David for joining us. It really is appreciated. I know you're a busy man, and I do appreciate you joining us tonight.
It's I didn't have the kids to bed, so I'd rather be talking to you, let me tell you.
Oh, excellent. Perfect. Even better. So, look, there's one story that's been dominating the news today. We all know what it is. Serious allegations of bullying, sexual harassment, racism at the WRU. Just want to get your thoughts on it, David, and should heads roll for this? What do you make of it all?
Yeah, well, I suppose like all of us, I'll obviously watch the programme at 8:00. I've obviously seen the stuff in the press today. My first thoughts, are, with the people who've been brave enough to speak out, because, it's not an easy thing to do.
Yeah.
When you're working in an organisation, or when you've had a tough experience, and I don't know the details, so I can't say who's right and who's wrong, because all I can say is, if you've been brave enough to speak out, I think you deserve a huge amount of support and credit. And I would say that for any person who's experienced something like that. So my first thoughts go to those people who've either spoken out and participated in this program, or for those that perhaps haven't but have had tough experiences. And so I think that's where my mind goes first. And obviously, as a father of a daughter, when you read some of the stuff, and like I say, the program I think airs in about 40 minutes, so I'll be watching it like everyone else. And so I need to reserve judgment until I've had a chance to watch the program and understand exactly the details, because as you know, I'm not privy to them at this point. I will reserve judgment until then. But what I will say, like I say, it's just awful to read about any individual's experience in any part of Welsh rugby that is clearly as horrendous as some of the individuals that are talking about on this program tonight, that I've only seen snippets in the press today, obviously. But but I just feel for them, because I can't imagine how difficult that's been, and how stressful and how awful they must have felt. And I can't imagine. Yeah, and so for me, that's where my mind goes to, and then I want to watch the program like everyone else, and I will. I reserve judgment until then. And what I will say is, I will do, whatever bit of influence and power I have, I will do, I will certainly try, I hope, to bring about positive change, because I want Welsh rugby to be the best it can be. And when you read headlines like today, and you see stories like we've seen in the press, obviously before the programme airs tonight, it's absolutely awful to think, that anyone's had those sort of experiences around Welsh rugby. And we need to, people who can, people in power, people in influence, you need to do whatever you can to make sure that whatever has happened is either never happens again, or the changes are made, and the people who participate in this are either held to account or learn from it and it's dealt with properly. And the people who've experienced it are given all our support. Because, don't underestimate the emotional, I'm sure, and how much difficult it would be to speak out publicly on these matters. And I think that they have certainly all my support and admiration. And I'm obviously, as you can probably sense, very eager to listen and watch the program tonight and understand exactly, what the details are. But I'm sure you guys feel the same, right? We all love the game.
Absolutely, yeah.
I want my daughter to, she comes to pretty much every Dragons game, and she has great experiences around rugby. And I would hate for her to grow up in a world where she'd have any sort of experiences like the ones I've read about today, because it just feels horrendous.
Thank you, David.
I can't get my daughter to come to a rugby game with me at all. She sits at home and watches, what's that thing with Zac Efron, the High School Musical, on loop. I cannot get her involved in rugby at all. She's doing rugby in school at the minute in PE. And so they keep throwing a ball at me, Dad, and it keeps hitting me in the face.
So, that's why my daughter loves it. Yeah, my daughter's she's got a match tomorrow. She's playing against Cantonian High. She's only 11, as your daughter, same Reece. But she'll be smashing it tomorrow.
But you make a good point, right? Because we need kids to participate in the game, boys and girls. And rugby's got challenges, like lots of sports, around participation, because of the, the obvious things around kids have a choice now, more than probably when we were all basically when I was young, you played football, you played rugby, or you played both. There was, you didn't compete like you do for kids today. The leisure pound and leisure time is probably the most competitive sort of thing that you're competing with as a sport. And so making the game accessible and making the game attractive as possible to as many young people is critical. And I think all our leadership should be focused around that. Because like you allude to, it's not easy these days. I guess I'm lucky my daughter's been brainwashed from a very, very young age. I don't know. I don't know. She's probably got no choice because it's like either come to Dragons or stay home and, I don't know, stay with a baby. And I think she probably thinks I'd rather go with Dad.
Nice.
Cool. So, Carwyn, you had a question. Has Coco calmed down now, mate?
Oh, I'm holding on to the other side here. Yeah.
Don't mention the name.
So going back now, this I think this is on a lot of fans' minds as well. Obviously, there's a verbal agreement in place within the WR and the regions. We're still waiting for the written agreement. Any further thoughts on that and how we're getting along with that, and how is it affecting the regions and the players in your mind?
Yeah, so I think we've. I'm relieved, to be honest, that we've made progress. It's taken way too long. I think just taken too long. But having said that, I think we're in a, we have got a verbal agreement. We're actually drafting the long form written agreement, which will be, we actually signed the heads of terms, which is the shorter version of the agreement, actually over a week ago now. When I was down in Po, actually. So yeah, just over a week ago. And the long form, the long detailed agreement legally is being drafted as we speak. So it should be, circulated in the coming week or so, and then we'll sign it hopefully, in the coming weeks. So, I think that is that's taken a long time, but I think I think you can be confident that we'll have an agreement to govern the pro game. There's never enough money. There's certainly not enough money in the professional game, in my honest observation. But what I will say is 4 clubs have survived. And, when you look at some of the numbers that we were looking at, there was probably real risk in that being a problem or a real issue. And so my first priority is part of the negotiation is to make sure, we have 4 professional teams. And I think the good thing about this agreement is it does enable that. Obviously, there's going to be some tough choices around finances. You've seen some of the players, from a contracting perspective that have already left. So it's not going to be easy financially. No one should pretend that it is. The next couple of years is going to be really tough. There's, my honest opinion, there's probably an insufficient amount of professional money going into the pro game. So we're going to have to make some tough decisions, but nevertheless, I think it enables us all to survive. It enables us, hopefully, in a couple of years' time, to get to a place where we can grow. And we'll have to back ourselves to do that. So, I'd say in terms of the players, to answer that question, I think later this week, players will start to get their verbal offers, so they know what we can offer. So they'll start to get more certainty, or literally over the coming days and week or two. It's probably an example of we just need to do better. We need to do better is the truth. And it's not easy. It's not always easy, but
no, it's tough. Could I say, because it isn't just the players, it's their families as well, isn't it? And any other job, people would expect that contract in place, or they do look elsewhere, don't they? And it is tough. I think it's tough on everyone all around. People at the top making those decisions, and then the players themselves, who probably don't want to be moving away, because normally with us Welsh people, we like to be at home. We like to be around the people we know.
I just think it goes back to the time things take, in Welsh rugby. It should never have, we are where we are now, and I've got equal responsibility because I'm in the room. I just get frustrated how long things take. These things should be done. We had plenty of time. It takes too long, and then that has implications on people, and that's the thing I think you're referring to. And I think we owe a massive thank you to the players who I think have been unbelievably professional over the Christmas derbies, unbelievably professional in Europe. I'm sure will be unbelievably professional through the Six Nations, and so I think it's huge credit to players and staff who've probably conducted themselves, I think, with absolute aplomb, and probably probably a little bit of a hopefully a bit of reflection on us lot off the field. That means we've got to work quicker in future, because let's get to a place where we're all stable and we can grow, and let's not keep making these sort of issues, because I don't think it's good. It's a good look, right, for Welsh rugby.
Thank you. Who's gone? Someone gone?
No, it's my camera. As soon as something starts getting excited, my camera just has a fit. So go on, James. You carry on.
You short your camera or your hands?
It's production value.
I'm telling you, I'm getting you either a joke book or a gag for Christmas.
Oh.
So, James, you had a Dragons related question, didn't you?
Yeah, so this came from one of our listeners. It's regarding the cabbage patch in the north end of the ground, David. He was just saying, what's the plans for it? Should the WRU sell that land and pay off, the COVID loan for the regions? But I was going to ask you about this anyway, because I remember some time ago, I went to a Q&A that you did, and there was a little bit of debate about where the profits would go to, if there was any redevelopment on the land. Because first of all, it was said that it was going to be for the Dragons. And then I don't know if you remember this, but the former Scarlets chairman, it was Nigel Shaw at the time, he came out, didn't he, and said, that's a PRB asset, it should be for all of us. So I just wanted to ask, once you get this private ownership deal agreed, which is going to be after the funding agreement is sorted, I presume, what is the future of the cabbage patch? Is it still going to be under WRU? And do you have any indication about what the WRU are planning to do with that side of the ground and that land?
Shortly, it was great to tell everyone how to run Welsh rugby. It's a good book. So I think if we get 20 million quid for it to pay off the COVID loans, we should sell it. I'm not sure we get 20 million quid for it. If we did, I'd say let's sell it now. No, I think so. No, it's not going to be. It would never be sufficient, I think, as an asset to clear COVID loans. I think, unfortunately, the four clubs are going to have to pay them down over the coming decades. I think in terms of what happens to the asset, I think two things. I think the club has to go into private hands. Part of the agreement, the Dragons has to go into private hands. So I think, and then as private investors, we have, I guess, two options. We have a lease that we haven't quite agreed yet, but we're not far away with the WRU. I think Steve Phillips has commented on that publicly as well. So I think you have an option basically to have a lease, which means we'd have the stadium, and for those of you who know the ground, up to the cabbage patch. And
right,
then
okay, yeah.
WRU would retain the cabbage patch in the clubhouse, and I would imagine they would do some sort of development project on that. The monies that from that development project would obviously then go into the WRU coffers to be distributed across the pro game in Wales. Obviously, the money that we generated on our part, if you like, of the lease, which is from the, if you know it, the tent.
Yeah, the marquee, yeah.
Would obviously be the revenue of the Dragons. But obviously that's a much smaller area in terms of development opportunity, because most of it sits at the cabbage patch end. So I hope that's cleared that up. I think in terms of, and then the other only option is, if we as potential owners of the club, would we purchase the whole site? Obviously we would need a lot of financial support to do that, and it's not obvious how we'd find that or get it, but probably, from a long-term investment perspective, that would be the most attractive thing to do. But obviously, we would have to purchase it at market price from the current owner if that was to be a scenario that we could afford to explore. At the moment in time, that we wouldn't have those finances. But I guess if I was dreaming about, what I love to do, what I would love to do is sort of go on a bit of a project and get hold of the freehold, and then see what we could do in conjunction with Newport City Council to develop the entire site. Because as a young boy, when all my family lived, or my nan's family lived on Corporation Road, just off Corporation Road, and I'd love to see the site developed. But equally, I've got to live in the real world. I can't afford to do it, and I put an extension on my house, so I don't have the expertise to develop a major property development. But perhaps there are other people in Newport and potential partners at the council, etc., that might be able to support us. I'd love them to. Because I think Rodney Parade is such a unique stadium, and I make no apology for saying it. I love this.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. It's the best stadium in Wales, David, as we all know.
Well, I don't want to be too partisan.
It's the best stadium in Wales.
I don't want to be too partisan, but I do love the fact it's in a city centre. I love the fact it's got that feel to it, that old school rugby ground feel. It's not easy to sort of replicate that, so I'd love us to try and make the best of it. But let's see, man. Let's see. Fingers crossed we can do something more than just, in effect, lease it and do what we can with our bit of the stadium and up to the tent. And then it'll be up to the WIU what they then do with the cabbage patch and the clubhouse. I'd imagine they'd look to develop it, would be my guess. And then those monies would be dispersed then through the professional game, as all the finances are, I guess, that are surplus at the WIU.
So can I just quickly ask about Newport Council, because you mentioned them. Have you actually spoke to Newport Council and put these plans in play and forward to them? And what's their reaction been to what you're suggesting? Are they on board with it? Do they really want to get involved?
Yeah, so Mark Jones, who's our managing director, and I've had a couple of meetings with the council and also with a couple of local politicians. And so obviously we share our passion and dream with them. And obviously, as you'd expect, they can't give us any promises until the deal is done and we've taken control of the club, which I respect and understand. I obviously try and nudge a bit further and say, come on, man. I would love to think that if the club was in private hands, I would love to think that, that the support within the Newport and the city would want to see Rodney Parade to be the best it can be. And for that, we would definitely need some support from the city and the council and the local politicians. But I don't see why they wouldn't, because I think that part of the river would really benefit from some development. And I think it'd be great for the city to make it the best it can be. So fingers crossed, mate. Is what I've learned about things in Welsh rugby and in, and in this sort of stuff. It always takes longer than perhaps I'm used to working in the tech industry, but I'm also trying to keep patient, because I think hopefully the end will justify the patience, because it's a labour of love, that's for sure.
Lovely, thank you very much.
Yeah. So many years ago, when my little ones were small, I used to be I was on a board for a local club. So when you talk about how long it takes to get things done, on the very first meeting, the very first thing we spoke about was cutting down the trees around the outside of the ground. And 18 months later, when I left, the very last thing we spoke about was cutting down those trees. And that's when my boy was born. He's 18 now. Those trees got cut down 2 years ago. Honest to God, that's how long some of the process can be in some of the, particularly in the smaller clubs, where they don't have the budget. They don't have the budget to spend a couple of grand on cutting trees down and stuff like that. So it's, Welsh rugby can be tough from the top to the bottom, can't it? It's not easy anyway. So my kind of question to you, I guess, now is what does the future look like from a Dragons, from the academy, from schools, colleges, right down to Division 3B, I think we go down to now. How do you see things changing over the next couple of years?
Yeah, I see three challenges in Welsh rugby. I think the first challenge is, we don't have enough money to invest in the pro game. What does that mean? We have to do one of two things. We have to grow our income levels in Welsh rugby, which I think is a challenge to all of us, and WIU and the clubs. Or you have to cut costs, and or you do a bit of both. So I think the first one is that requires strong leadership, and it requires going back to what I said about governance. You need some really talented people to build business. It's not easy to make money, and it's not easy to control costs when you run a business. So you need really talented people. We need the best people we can get around Welsh rugby in order to make the first thing happen, because that is a purely business, commercial, financial thing, and it's bloody difficult to make money. So let's get the best people around the table, because it is a professional game. Stadiums need investment, academies need investment, the women's game needs investment, the men's game needs investment, and all our competitors, none of them are standing still. So we need to be in the best we can do, working together. I think that's the first thing I'd say. I think the second thing we need to do is acknowledge that within the community game, that there are challenges in participation numbers. We can produce reports that put positive spins on things, or we can look at what we know, which is that I can see with my wife, with my kids, challenge around concussion. My wife says my wife worries about my eldest boy. because of concussion and head injury, because she's read it in the papers, understandably and correctly. And in fact, one of the boys in his school team actually got concussed for the first concussion they've had at 12 a couple of weeks ago. And of course, all the parents talking about it, understandably asking the school, what are the assurances? How does it? So we have to deal with these things as a game head on, and deal with these things in a way that's transparent, but also enables the game to have the confidence of its parents and the children. So I think the community game needs support and investment too. And we've got some very talented people in the community game, by the way. So when I said about having the right people in the right situation who care about the game, there's some brilliant people in that community game that know exactly how to run community clubs and run them very, very well. So let's give them what they need in order to get on and do that while we get on and do the pro game. I think that's, and then we can ultimately work together because we all want the same thing. One great community game and great pro game, because the two things are so intrinsically linked. It's very obvious to anyone. So I think let's try and deal with the participation number challenges. I think the women's and girls game can be a great driver of that. There's huge growth potential, I think, in that area specifically. I'm really excited to see the stuff that, for example, that Nigel has done around the women's game in Wales. I think it's some really positive stuff there, and we've seen some of the improvements already. So I think there's a lot of growth potential in that area. And I think probably the third thing, I'd allude to is the things that I spoke about earlier, which is, I think as private owners of clubs, we need to do and take a bit of risk here, right? So I see myself and a couple of other guys who are obviously going to do the Dragons. Obviously Nigel Shorty, and all the guys at the Scarlets, I think, do a great job. Rob Davis at the Ospreys, and Peter at Cardiff. Some of these guys, I think, deserve bronze statues built of them, given what they've invested in the pro game in Wales. I don't think they get the credit they deserve because, without some of these guys, they've invested literally personally over £10 million, I think, some of them. And without their extra investment and support, the pro game wouldn't have been able to do what it's done. So I think we need to create an environment where we can attract the best talented people into the pro game that want to sponsor us, that want to be partners with us, that hopefully want to invest in the game. Because ultimately, we are going to need to get more money if we're going to make 4 successful teams or 2 or 3 successful teams. And there's not enough money. So I think that's going to require people like myself and Simon at the Scarlets and, Robert the Ospreys and Aline at Cardiff. All of us are going to have to work pretty hard the next 2-3 years because we can't just expect that, the WRU or anyone else to bail us out. We're going to have to do some really hard yards ourselves. I think we need a lot of support from our local city councils, etc. as well. So there's, it's a tough job, but we've got to walk into it because the game is so important, I think, to the communities we serve and represent.
Absolutely, yeah. So time is moving on, and television programs wait for no man. So final question then is about your thoughts on the Welsh team and the changes that have been made, and what are we looking like for the Six Nations, and can you get us tickets? No, I'm joking. No. No. What's your thoughts on the
Dragons? You come watch the Dragons, boys. I can sort that out.
We'll have to do a live podcast from a Dragons game, and then Jamie can just abuse me all the way through.
You guys are definitely.
I can do that. That's fine. We'll do it.
Definitely, we've got good Wi-Fi actually at Rodney Parade as well. To be fair. Look, I'd say, I'm an enthusiastic like everybody else, so I don't claim to know more than the next man when it comes to that. I would say. I thought Leon was great yesterday for us, by the way. I think Warren, as always, is a bit of a master of selection. I think, Leon hadn't played for a while, but my God, he looked pretty impressive yesterday, I thought, when he came on.
He looks huge, David. He's really bulked up, isn't he? That's the first thing I thought when I saw him.
He's a powerful man.
Yeah.
So I think never underestimate Wales is my experience watching Wales. Since I was, first time I went up on the Upper East Terrace schoolboy enclosure. I remember when the first games I saw was, did we beat England? Was it 11-9 when Yayan scored in the foot race?
I was there for that game. Yeah,
I'm not sure.
Before my time, sorry.
I'm not sure. Was it 11-9? I can't remember.
Lewis hacked it on, didn't he?
I was there as well, right in front of where Yayan scored.
He didn't hack it on. That was a skillful kick.
Absolutely, my mistake, man.
And I remember that was I think England won in Wales for 28 years or something. And I remember going actually terrified that we were going to lose, because the thought of Wales losing that record of never losing all those years. I remember, honestly, as a schoolboy thinking, oh shit, please God, don't lose. And it meaning more than perhaps it should have done. I don't know. And then obviously, I don't think Ian grounded that ball properly, by the way. I'd have to watch it on YouTube. But anyway, who cares? Who cares?
Too late for a TMO now.
If there's a TMO now, it'd probably be done for incorrect grounding. But yeah, so that the reason why I mention that is because that's Wales all over for me. Like, if we beat Ireland first game and we get on a roll and there's momentum, and the Six Nations is such a unique tournament, isn't it? If you get a bit of momentum, win your first game, all of a sudden you look down the fixtures and think, hang around, France away is going to be tricky. Obviously, I'm not saying Italy's away is easy or Scotland, but the point I'm making is it's definitely the old cliche. It's if you can win your first game and get a bit of momentum rolling, and I think as Welsh people, then we sort of get carried on a wave of sort of fervour and passion and drive. So I don't know. And Warren being back, I don't know. I feel cautiously optimistic that I think Ireland might have I think Ireland might have a little bit of surprise in Cardiff. I know Ireland are a great team. I'm not saying they're not, but I think we might have a little surprise or two for Ireland in our first game, and then who knows how far we can go if we get on a bit of a roll. And obviously England at home is always an easy win. So we got to beat England, haven't we? Got to beat England. I am one of those terrible Welsh people. They go, they go like, oh, you. People say to you like, oh, yeah, but it shouldn't matter if you just beat England, lose to everyone else, and that's true. I agree. But actually, if we did beat England, lose to that's not bad, to be fair. I don't know why. I've always been a bit petty like that. I think for me, I don't know. England's always the one I look to as the game we have to win, and obviously, I hope we can win the tournament and go on and do great. But if we beat England in Cardiff, then I know I'm on for a great night with my brother.
Happy days.
Fantastic. Dave, thank you so much for your time tonight. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you.
It's been great and some great answers. And thank you. So,
good luck with the rest of the season.
Thanks, Carwyn.
It's a dragon. You can't go wishing the dragons good luck. They're above us in the table.
Someone has to.
Jamie, I'll take all the luck we can get. Absolutely. You need it with some of the refereeing decisions we get.
And now you're on my turf. Now I know where you're coming from.
But let's hope whatever's in store for us in this program in the next 15, 20 minutes. I really hope Welsh rugby can can at the very least capture the learnings and and let's make sure we build the game into what it can be, and the game we all grew up loving, because this is not these sort of evenings are a pretty sobering and reflective moment, I think, for all of us. So fingers crossed that we can do that, because it's I hate to think of the game. And anyone having an experience like clearly's happened, looks like it's happened here. So I think, let's see. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, well said. Absolutely.
Well, on that note, thank you for your time, Dave, and all the best. Have a good one.
Thank you. All the best, David.
Cheers, David. Thank you.
So that was quite good then, gents. That was a nice guy, Mr. Buttress.
Absolutely, yeah. Good chat.
Aye, cool. And I'm sure more's going to come of that. So let's do our bit then. Let's get some admin out the way, and let's do drink of the week. Who wants to start drink of the week?
I'm still on the Moretti from last week.
How many of those have you got left now?
I think that's the last one. So I'm making it last.
But it's not. All right, Reese, what have you got, mate?
I'm going for the Spanish one. We went local last time, so I got the Estrella this week. Yeah.
Nice.
From Barcelona.
Jay?
Well, I got another new beer from Tiny Rebel. This is called Hoyle. And it's a peanut butter flapjack flavour.
Oh, Christ.
What?
What the fuck is that? Peanut butter beer?
It's a new flavour. It's a peanut butter flapjack flavour. What are you laughing at? So, it's 5.8%. And do I like it? Absolutely not. I don't like it at all.
We have that there, yeah.
Yeah.
Peanut butter beer, man.
Peanut butter beer.
Yeah. It's awful. It was the one beer in the pack, because I bought a pack of assorted flavours, and it was the one beer I pulled out, and I thought, I don't think I'm going to like that. And turns out I don't.
Yeah.
So,
Always go with your gut instinct.
Yeah. Never mind.
Yeah, I've gone traditional. I've gone for Conwy Brewery Clogwyn Gold this week. I think I've had it before, and it's quite nice. So I've done the Welsh beers in Tesco's now. So I've got to find some more. But I got like 3 or 4 breweries around me, and there's a shop that's opened up in Clethley, which is like a beer warehouse type thing, like a craft ale warehouse. So at some point I'm going to crack that as well. So yeah. Right. Okay. So Carwyn's dog Coco wants to be part of the pod. So we're going to do the Ospreys game first. So either Coco's going to be part of the pod, or Carwyn's going to do this really quick and take her for a walk. So which
to the vet.
She's a lovely dog.
I know. No, I wouldn't be without her. I wouldn't be without her. But tell you what, she can drive me crazy sometimes. Oh dear.
So what did you make of the Ospreys game, mate? Go on,
well,
get
firstly,
it out of your system. Let's have it.
Oh, superb. I was on the edge of my seat. I was absolutely buzzing. Absolutely. The only thing I'm gutted about was that I wasn't there. You know, it was just magical. You know, I don't think anyone. I think people have just written us off because it was Leicester. And you saw the stats. I think it was like 80% in favour of Leicester winning that game. And Leicester were good. Let's give them credit. They were very good, I thought. And we were playing a fantastic team, but we were better. The boys stood up on the night. The pack again was superb. Gutted for Dowie Lake and Kai Evans. Absolutely gutted. I'm not sure the full extent of the injuries at the moment, but obviously Scott Baldwin came on, did a great job. And George came on, the boys shuffled around in the back line again. And they stood up 100%. And the impact again of the bench. Kieran Williams, Morgan Morris, superb. And Rhys Davis, what a player he's turned out to be. What a player. But I think a lot of people took on the ref, and there was some dubious mistakes, but you get it in every game. It doesn't matter who you play, what level you play at, it's going to be there. But 12 minutes into injury time, and there wasn't a single scrum. I mean, there was one scrum, again, in injury time of the first half, for the whole of the first half. I mean, the games like that don't happen these days. They just don't. So the skill levels are right up there. The ball wasn't getting dropped. They were just getting stuck in. It was just a great, fantastic game to watch. And now Sarri's away. I am going to that game. I am definitely going to that game. I don't care. I'm going. I'm getting tickets. I'm going. Don't care if I have to walk to London, if I'm on the train, if I drive, I'm going. If I have to hitchhike, I'm going.
Might come with you.
Have you asked the boss for permission? Because she said
Not yet.
These things have to be taken very carefully and gently.
Yeah. It might be a Valentine's present.
Much hard what Buttress is going through, let me tell you.
Yeah, definitely Valentine's present, I reckon. But no, I can't wait. I mean, fair play. I mean, they stood up. They deserve all the credit they get for that game. Who's crashed?
Certainly, brilliant.
Oh, you've all just been quiet. Okay. No, yeah, it was good. What are your thoughts on the game, boys?
Oh, superb, absolutely superb. The Ospreys just keep getting better and better over the season. It was only like a month ago, we're going like, Cardiff's the best one, but we're nowhere near now, isn't it? But Ospreys they just have the business now, don't they?
Yeah,
but the French champions twice, beat Leicester up there.
But some of our games that we have lost, in the early part of the season, they were by 1 point or 2 points. Games that we should have won. I
think things are clicking for you more, isn't it?
The only game we didn't deserve to win was against the Dragons. Actually, I thought the Dragons completely outplayed us that day. But other than that, just like again we said earlier in the weeks past here, like it's just small margins. But they fought to the end, and they got the win.
When you talk about small margins, the small margin was that Leicester were attacking in your 22 at a 3-on-1 overlap, fucked up the pass, and it ended up in a try for the Ospreys, and that was the difference.
Yeah,
that's how, take nothing away from the Ospreys. They competed really, really well, particularly up front. I didn't think I can't remember the ball going across the back line from the Ospreys in the whole game, but where you beat them was up front, and then that one mistake, pounce, 75 meters, and sometimes when you're at that level, that's what it takes. But
our back line stood up in defence. You've got Keelan Giles, who isn't the biggest of lads, and he stood up every time to Freddie Stewart, who's 6'4". He's a bit of a lump, but yeah, no.
But he does. No line given. I was watching his tackling. He does the same as what Costello does, because Costello is tiny as well, and they don't even try. Because they can't go high. They don't even try. So they just drop and take the knees, and it's really, really effective, because you've got these great big 6'4" monsters trying to drop a shoulder and trying to, they're looking for contact, and actually you've got this tiny little half of a fart just dropping below their shoulder. And well,
they've been learning from the best in Dan Lydiate, haven't they? When you've got someone like that who can chop tackle, I think they'll be doing all right.
But with someone like Kieran Williams, because he's got that advantage of height, in that instance, his advantage is that he's shorter and he can drop and wrap a lot easier. So, yeah, that's a compliment, by the way. So
yeah, I think
you hear it first. A compliment from the Scarlets fan towards the Ospreys.
One,
absolutely.
We've been getting there.
To be fair, Toby Booth, I think we really should mention him, because he is doing a terrific job at the Ospreys. Now, when you consider the start of the season, the Ospreys really struggled in the URC to begin with, but like the Scarlets, Europe has given them a bit of an injection, isn't it? A bit of life, and a lot of confidence. And I thought the Ospreys were terrific. Another brilliant win. They just kept hanging on in there, didn't they?
Yeah.
Leicester was sort of pulling ahead, but the Ospreys never crumbled. They just continued. And you talk about Keelan Giles. I have to say, Alex Cuthbert, his defence, I was really impressed with how good he was defensively on the wing. He put in some really big tackles out on the wing. And Richard Wigglesworth, the Leicester coach, he said after the game, something quite interesting. Tommy Raffel was brilliant, by the way. Very good for Leicester. He said he was the best Welshman on the pitch. I beg to differ. Jack Morgan, for me, was the best Welshman on that pitch, and that's why he had the player of the match and not Tommy Raffel. I thought Jack Morgan was absolutely outstanding. Same goes to Rhys Davis.
Tommy Raffel was he was a thorn in our side throughout the whole game. He was, and I thought he played very well. But you're right, Jack Morgan was superb.
It was Jack Morgan,
but also that try-saving tackle by Michael Collins under the sticks.
I was just about to mention Michael Collins.
Fantastic.
He was very good as well. Yeah, but the last try, there's a lot of debate, isn't it? And the amount of saltiness from Leicester fans online, cheating, rubbish, ref, and all this nonsense.
Yeah.
In my honest, unbiased opinion, neutral, I think that was a try.
I think it was the ball.
Yeah. What was the call from the referee? Because I had it on mute. I had it on a second screen. I was on mute, so I didn't hear what the call from the referee was, because when you look at the footage, you can't see it being placed down. You can't see pressure on the ball. You can't see the ball. So you can't. So the referee must have said any reason not to award that try. Is that
I can't remember.
In French as well.
The one angle though, you could see that he had grounded, but it was you could just about see it, because I know there was a bit of debate on commentary. Someone was saying it was the boot, and Austin, you were saying no, it's the ball. And someone was saying it's the boot, it's the ball, and it's like, oh fuck's sake, lads, get quick now. You could see he had grounded the ball. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
From the one angle, you could see it.
It depends on the question that the referee, and if the referee says, I think that's a try, is there any reason why I can't award it, that's different to, was that a try? So it depends what the TMO is looking for according to what the referee asks. And I was in the middle of Death in Paradise, and if I'd have turned the sound up, my wife would have just decapitated me.
Big European game on a Friday night. You're watching bloody Death in Paradise. What's
Yeah, and they're
wrong
all
with you?
repeats. Come on, man.
Yeah, but I had
God's
it on a
sake.
second. I had it on a second screen on mute, and that's why I say I could watch the game. I just couldn't hear it. So that's where I was wondering what the referee must have judged that they'd seen that ball grounded somehow.
Yeah.
And so, I can see why Leicester fans would be miffed because if you ask a different question, you get a very different answer. If that referee,
it looked like a try though. It did look like it. From there was a couple of angles you couldn't see anything, and it was totally inconclusive. But then they showed another one then where you could just about see a little bit of the ball had gone over the line. And to me, even then, it was a try. But also credit to Owen Williams as well because he's still gonna make that kick. And you think it looked straightforward.
Huge
the
pressure
was under, and they all came charging out, didn't they, the Leicester players? And
yeah,
fair play to him, he absolutely nailed it.
Not just Owen Williams though, but we were pummeling them up front, and then Rhys Henry came on, and he just did an incredible job.
Right, Carl, let me ask you this: how old is Rhys Henry?
Oh, I don't know. I'd say he's about 26, 27.
Well, he looks like 47, doesn't he?
He does.
He's got the same hairstyle as me, and I appreciate that, quite frankly.
He's your old school prop, and he's your old school prop.
I love him.
Are you not 22, Jay?
Believe it or not, no, I'm not. Thanks, Lee. Nice.
Legend status.
Yeah, brilliant. Well done, Ospreys. Another superb win. You can't fault it. Good to see. No. It's good to see. Shot in the arm for Welsh.
I can't wait to see Jack Morgan in the Welsh shirt in his Six Nations. Like,
buzzing.
He's going to taste.
But it is a shame. We should mention as well, Dowie. Like there are reports today that he's going to miss the first few rounds of Six Nations. I was gutted. I mean, it didn't look good, did it, Carrie? He was limping off, and you thought,
it wasn't good. I didn't think initially. I didn't think it was not as bad as it, as it could be because he was walking a bit of a limp. But if you're walking on it, it's like okay, maybe you're right. But clearly, there's a bit more damage done than we initially thought.
Yeah, there are reports of Scott Baldwin, fellow Ospreys hooker, comes in. So you're going to be quite light on hookers now. You're going to be quite light on hookers now when you're at the Ospreys. So who would come in now then?
Elvis. You've got Elvis, haven't you?
Elvis.
Yeah. Elvis.
Oh, is he still there? He's not still there, is he?
Yeah, he's still on the
roster. Elvis Tyrone still there as well,
yeah.
Oh, is he? Oh, play. Okay.
Yeah. Here we are, lads.
Are you off, you?
I am.
Just give us a quick prediction for this weekend then. So Ospreys got
Zebra.
Yeah.
Ospreys by 18.
Ospreys by
even
18.
with all those missing from the squad because they're representing our beautiful national team.
Okay, so I haven't got it in front of me, but what about everyone? What about the other teams? So Dragons are playing who, Jane?
Glasgow at home.
Glasgow at home. So, Carl, what's your prediction?
Glasgow in the Scotstoun, you say, or in Rodney Parade?
No, at Rodney Parade. Saturday, 3:00 kickoff.
Oh, it'll be a full house. Dragons by 4.
Okay. So, Reece, who Cardiff got?
Leinster away.
That's an easy one. They'll be down to this.
Well, you'll be playing Leinster seconds, but you'd also have a bit of a weaker squad. So Leinster by 25.
Cool. And I think
25. Oh my god. The words.
I think Friday night Scarlets are playing. Bulls. We've got Bulls on Friday night. So,
all right, Bulls by 8.
Right, you can fuck off now. Go on, go take the dog for a walk.
All the best, troops.
Nice and valid.
Catch you next week, mate.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks, boys.
I feel sorry for the dog. It's stuck with him. So let's talk about the Cardiff game then, because it got moved. Bless. I mean, be fair to them. They would have had to put their jumpers on and all sorts of stuff if they'd have played at the proper time. But apparently, the forecast for the 9 o'clock forecast was -5 in brief.
That's quite cold. That's quite cold. Yeah.
So, I don't blame them.
So, I always remember my daughter played in a tag rugby game down Hayley Park in Llandudno North, and it was -4 on that game. and you had all these like 5-year-old children, like just dressed up as Michelin Man running across the pitch like this.
Yeah.
But we moved the game. The Cardiff returning to a more familiar trope that I'm used to. Mostly it happens in the second half, not the first. But 17-3 down at half time. Brive dominated. They're a different side than we played at the Arms Park. The number 7, I forget his name, sort of thing, was causing some real issues. Their pack just dominated us. And yeah, it was hard to turn that around. But at one stage, early on in the second half, it looked like we might. Some special mentions that's just some of the youngsters still coming through. I think Mason Grady looks like he's coming on. It's enforced, isn't it? Because we're running out of centres. But he's starting to look like he's causing damage now. When he given that short ball, coming on at pace, it's taken about 3 defenders to bring him down. And he's got some real pace and gas behind him as well. And you all know I'm a massive fan of Teddy Williams. Even though he got yellow carded, another apart from that good performance. And I thought, and I say this now, like there was a clash ahead, so it was a yellow card, but he was unlucky in the way that Rhys Carey went in from the side in the tackle and sort of knocked the man with the ball into the pathway, if you like, of Teddy Williams. So I felt a bit sorry for him because he doesn't seem to be a dirty player or indeed an unintelligent player that wouldn't be tackling properly. Yeah, so early on in the second half, it was like for 10 minutes, it just looked like Cardiff were in this purple patch. It just looked like we were going to win it again, sort of thing. I felt comfortable. We put 3 tries. I think so both of them. Rhys Priestland, and my mind's gone blank for the final one. But we played some fantastic rugby. They couldn't cope with us, and it just looked like we'd do that for the rest of the half. They got the ball back and showed what they could do, and the tries they scored were scintillating. They were fantastic. Again, I thought Brive didn't care about this competition, and they just came at us and went out deserved winners. We tried it right at the end. It looked like a good try for Summerhill, but it was deemed a forward pass. But it was a forward pass. Obviously deemed it was a really forward pass. I think there was one just before it as well, but it was a good move and it looked like a really nice try. And then Lloyd Williams right at the end. We'd lost the game by then, but dropping the ball over the line sort of typified for me the Cardiff effort. And when I say very familiar feeling around it, it's just that just capitulating at large parts, loss of concentration. I put an angry tweet that on top of Carolyn's comment to me on the weekend, and I said I'd regret it the next day. Might have been drinking. But yeah, so there it is. Still got to, we're still through. So there's that, and that wasn't always guaranteed at the start of the season with Cardiff. So I'm happy about that, but we haven't got that final home game that we'd hoped for.
So did you actually pay a one-off fee to watch that game through the website?
Yeah.
Bloody hell. Money well spent, wasn't it?
I didn't even watch the whole game.
Oh, fuck.
I missed the last 5 minutes. I was watching it. I watched highlights before we went.
I gotta say, I was really surprised with myself because Cardiff are a decent team, in fairness. And let's not forget, this is a Brive team that got absolutely battered by Connacht by 60 points the week before. So I fully expected Cardiff to go out there, secure the top 2, and do a job on Brive. And I've only seen highlights, admittedly, but it was anything but. Brive absolutely dominated them, and Cardiff did threaten to come back. But one thing I will say, from the biggest takeaway for me for this game, Rhys Priestland executed one of the best 50-22s I've ever seen.
Oh my God!
It was brilliant. If anyone hasn't seen it, I urge you to go and find it on Twitter or YouTube or anywhere.
It was fantastic.
50-22 was absolutely outstanding.
Well, part of the fight back was down to Priestland in the way he controlled the game, sort of thing. He's kicking from hand, sort of thing, and just picking out the right people coming in the pace, sort of thing. Like Harries comes in off his wing. Jason Harries, he's like a 3rd or 4th choice winger, but big lads, and he hits the line well and stuff like that. With Mason Grady coming in, sort of thing. So we've got players that cause people some real problems, isn't it? But we just need to maintain it for 80 minutes.
Well, I was following the game on Twitter, just following the hashtag on Twitter. And when you say about Priestland, there were a couple of tweets that went, Priestland's an absolute legend. Priestland he's a fucking legend, blah, 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 blah. And then about 2 minutes later, there was Priestland's a fucking liability. And I'm like, and you check the timeline, and you go, he's obviously done something really, really well, and then he's fucked something up at some point.
They weren't both me, were they? No.
I don't think so, no. And then I think the consistent bit was Kirby Myhill is a bag of shit, can't throw for toffee. And then I don't know who you brought on as hooker. That last year we brought a hooker on that can throw.
Evan Daniel.
He's shit as well. And so
no. Myhill played. Myhill around the park. He's had Scarlets before us, wasn't he? Isn't it? So around the park, Myhill's brilliant. He hits the line on wide channels and stuff like that, and causes. He's got a bit of pace to him as well and good hands. But yeah, it's just his throwing. But it has improved. I've got to be honest. He's picking out. To be fair, we're doing a lot simpler lineouts than we have done before. So he's picking out and not continuously throwing to the back when we're missing all the time, sort of thing. So
I think this is
Evan Daniel's one for the future. He played, he came on and played in this game, and he played against the game I went to, Newcastle. I think he jackled the ball. He hit his man in the line out. He's one for the future for us, anyway.
Yeah, that's the problem with trying to follow a game on Twitter. Is you never really know what's happening, because within 30 seconds somebody's an absolute legend and somebody needs to be shot, and you're like, well, I'm never really quite sure which way it is. Maybe that fiver for watching the game, maybe that money for watching the game was well spent in the end, mate. Because watching it the other way would have been crap. So let's do Scarlets next then, because we played after. So we had the opposite. We played well in the first half and then kind of lost it in the second. It's not really much to say. It was as we expected with the Scarlets. There was some lovely hands. There was some really decent bits of rugby there. We just got to string it together for 80 minutes, and we just don't seem to string it together for 80 minutes. And if we did, if every pass went to hand, we'd be putting 10 tries against everyone, because the creativity, the imagination, the vision is there. It's just the execution isn't quite. It's coming. It's better than what it was at the start of the season, and the scrum is holding up, and the line out is okay. There's still a couple of issues, but it was okay to watch. The second half wasn't the most exciting, and I thought that we should have probably scored the fourth, gone for the bonus point and kind of gone a bit more cutthroat in certain places, but come away with a home fixture for the next round. So his job done.
Can't fault that, can you? Can't fault that. He went out and did the job, won the game.
Yeah, it was a bit of a whimper. It was a bit of a. We compared it with the Ospreys game, where everything was on that last minute and everything was on that last try. Well, we pretty much had the game wrapped up by half time. I was on my second bottle of wine by the end of the second half. It didn't. It wasn't. Do you know what I mean? So it was job done. It was done. Do you know? I tell you what, I haven't got it at. So the next round, I think, is 1st or 2nd of April, something like that. So I've got tickets for a comedy gig on the 1st, and the boys going to South Africa on tour on the 3rd. So on the 2nd, I'm driving them up to the fucking airport. So whatever day it's on, I'm not watching. So
just the way the cookie crumbles.
What a bastard! But there we go. So, Jamie, Dragons. Talk to us about Ross Moriarty's 50th appearance in a Dragon shirt and the 3 minutes that it lasted.
Yeah, I actually, in all seriousness, it's pretty shitty what happened to him. So it was his 50th appearance. I mean, first of all, he didn't get to do it to Ronnie Parade, where it should have been. He had to do a strum and on the training paddock. And then I think it was the first 5 minutes, he came off. It turns out he's torn his ear and suffered concussion. So it's a really shit way to bring up your 50th appearance for the Dragons.
So what did he do? I didn't see the report of what he did. I thought he like done his shoulder or something.
Lions player went up to the air, caught the ball, and as he sort of fall back to the ground, Moriarty went steaming in, and he just bad connection. Head onto hip, I think it was. Yeah. As soon as the player just landed on the ground, Moriarty his head was on the wrong side, just a bad connection. Poor technique more than anything. But he had to come off, and it wasn't great. But I think that just sums up the first half. I mean, I don't want to use this cliche because it's awful and I hate it, but it really was a game of two halves. The first half was an absolute disaster. Anything that could go wrong did go wrong. Fair play to the Lions, though. They were very clinical. You know, they came to play. They brought their strongest team. They weren't fucking about, you know. They came to play. Their fly-off, Jordan Hendrickson, the one that David was all about earlier, I mean, he's fantastic. He has got one hell of a boot on him, that bloke. Absolutely amazing. And, 27-5 down at half-time. You're thinking this could be a 50, 60-pointer. But fair play, the second half was a lot different. We showed a lot of fight, a lot of character. The replacements made a big difference. Rodri's back, which is great. I never want to see Lewis Jones start another game for the Dragons for the rest of the season. I feel like I'm picking on the guy, but I'm sorry, he's not up to this level. He's Welsh Premiership standard, and hopefully now Rodri's back and he'll cement starting scrum off. The one thing that really did please me was Leon Brown, because he made a big impact off the bench. Obviously, he'd been called into the Six Nations squad. It was a surprise to all of us. We didn't really know how fit he was because the Dragons refused to put a timeline and a return date on it in public. I was saying to David earlier, I mean, he looks massive. He is really bulked up. He looks huge.
When he like came running onto the pitch, like I had to take a second look and go, is that him? Because it was like, he was everywhere. It's back, shoulders, neck, arms. It's like he had two shirts strapped together to get him round him. Do you know what I mean?
What a wonderful time to have a three come back so strongly, isn't it?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, if Gatland was watching that, he'd be very, very happy because Leon scrummaged well, which is important, but he also carried well. He just looked hungry right from the get-go. But it was just a disaster that the first half. Left us with a mountain to climb. Going problem, but our scrum is a big, big problem, and it failed again. And I don't want to be too critical of Lloyd Fairbrother because he's got some really, personal problems that were like personal issues off the pitch. But I'm afraid to say Rob Evans. So I really do like Rob Evans, but he's made very little impact since he's arrived from the Scarlet. So that's very disappointing. Our front row really struggled. But the encouraging thing was the replacement front row who we brought on, Aki Salui, the highest penalty machine in the URC. He actually came on and played well. Again, scrummaged decently, played well. Brodie Coughlin, the young hooker. And I don't know how much you've seen of this guy. I'm getting excited about him because I think he looks a really good prospect. Every time he's come off the bench for the Dragons, he's looked really good. He looks a promising talent. And I'm just thinking now with Bradley going to Wales, he's going to get some maybe starting opportunities now. And I think that'll be really good for his development. But it's just a shame, that Dave Flanagan said after the game, you can't keep giving teams 20 points, 30 points head starts. He's right, because for all the endeavour we show in a fight, we've got to be better starting games. We got to put in a full 80-minute performance. At the moment, we're just letting teams get way ahead of us, and then we're having to climb a mountain, and it can't be like that every game. We've got to set the tempo right from the off. I don't know what happened in that first half, but we looked sluggish. We looked, ill prepared. And no doubt the disruption of having to go to Western would have played part. I know you're thinking, well, they train there every day. It shouldn't be an issue, but I think it was a big disruption. And I think it's a big disadvantage for Dragons to have to go up there and play. I'm not going to say as we played at Rodney, we would have won because there's no guarantees of that. But I do think it played a big part in our problems.
It would have been a different atmosphere, wouldn't it, at Rodney Parade? And
absolutely.
That could make a difference in it.
But see, I didn't realise what David was saying earlier. You had to nominate a second pitch. And I'm thinking,
I don't know.
Where's everybody's second pitch? To Cardiff, go back to Cardiff City Stadium? Do they go to the Millennium Stadium?
Yeah.
You know, where do the Ospreys go? They'd have to go to the Knoll, or I mean, that's a big difference going from where Scarlets would go. I mean, we haven't got anywhere else. You know, where the hell we'd have to play it on the bloody Collogue Cigar bloody 4G pitch? You know, it's.
I think Ospreys would play Bridgend, wouldn't they? Because they have played some pro games at Bridgend, so I dare say that would probably be rather than the Knoll. But
they play their
it's disappointing. Sorry, just to say, disappointing as the result was with the defeat, because we came so close at the end. It would have been a brilliant fight back. You know, we did get 2 bonus points of it, so we have qualified for the last 16. So it's job done from that regard. But just very disappointed that we couldn't start well and we keep falling off games. So we got to be a lot better. We start games and we got to put in an 80-minute performance.
But to be fair, when you were on top, the amount of high tackles again, you were attacking in their 22. And it was high tackle after high tackle, and the referee was like going advantage. And then I think it went for a line out or whatever. I counted 3 high tackles, But and you're like, okay, well now you bring them back and you start from there. You don't go, naughty, don't do that again. Don't annoy teacher. That's 3 high tackles, and with everything in the game at the minute, there's common sense high tackles, like you were talking about, Reece. Like, okay, it's a yellow card because it is high, but it's not, it's not a red card. And then you've got the Dragons one. Is it like the week before where the Cheetahs guy jumped into our guy's head? So that was a yellow card because it's not a red card sort of a thing. And the tackles that were coming in against the Dragons, they were probably worse because they were aggressive tackles and they were high and they were hitting them down, So it's disappointing to see the level of the level of inequality between games. Do you know what I mean? It's either high or it isn't. And it's something that we'll have to talk about in the future with all you saw the fuss around the English game changing their rules about high tackling and stuff. But
it's a waste of time.
I definitely thought Dragons were at least one of their players should have been off, and there should have been a couple of penalties right in front of the posts, and they should have been. It would have made life a lot easier for the Dragons. Anyway.
One of their players did get yellow carded on the 64th minute, so they did see a yellow card. I do agree. I think they got away with a lot of high shots and offsides, actually. I thought they were living offside at times, the Lions. But we can't keep blaming the ref. It was our own fault. We gave them too comfortable a head start. We gave ourselves about to climb, and the game was won in the first half, really, for the Lions, and we came so close. We were so much better in our second half. But you got to ask yourself, why couldn't we play with our intensity in the first half, But I think that's more to do with the replacements coming on. But like I said, job done, 2 points, away to Glasgow next, which, it looked like being too long for a little while, but she just beat in Poe right at the end for that kick, means we're going to Glasgow. So, it's going to be very, very difficult
trip, isn't it?
Oh, of course it is. Yeah, whether it was Toulon or Glasgow, it's difficult. If we'd won, we would have been at home to Racing 92, which again is, just absurd. But the fact is, we would have been at home, and as David pointed out earlier, it would have been a bit of a money spinner because I would have loved to have seen Finn Russell and Christian Wade and him off and all that at Ronnie Parade. It would have been brilliant, but. The main thing is we're in the last 16. And let's not forget, a couple of weeks ago, my Dragons hadn't won a game in Europe for 3 years, So credit where it's due. We are moving
fantastic,
forward.
I watched a bit of Finn Russell on Saturday.
He's good,
That's the sort of thing. He's superb, isn't he?
Yes. Finn the magician.
Did you see the Exeter Castra game? So I sent you boys the picture of it. So at one point... at the end of the first half, Castra had all 3 of their back row off the pitch on cards. So, they had 1 red, 2 yellows, and Exeter didn't score while the 3 players were off the pitch. Didn't score. But it was...
Well, I will say about that game, now you mentioned it, Dav Jenkins and Christian were very, very good. Now they are two big, exciting young talents. They are, and they fair play to them. I thought they were excellent again. They're developing well at Exeter, aren't they?
Well, so I would love to see both of those boys come back to the Scarlets, just because that's the way it is. But somebody said, "Oh no, leave them at Exeter because they're getting development and stuff." I think Exeter have lost 10 players so far for next season. All of their big names have gone. I can't see Rob Baxter kind of hanging around it. If an offer comes in for Rob Baxter to go somewhere else, I'd say he'd go. Just because I know he's committed to the club and I know he's built it up from nothing. But when you've built it up from nothing, you've got to the peak. You've won the European Cup. Did they win the European Cup or did they get to the final?
They did, yeah.
Yeah, you've got to that level. And now your feet are kind of, that rug is taken away from you and your players, and you can't do anything to stop them because of the money, and that's all out of your control. I wouldn't be surprised to see somebody somewhere go, well, here's a bit of cash, come and do that here, sort of a thing. And, that might be the start of a very slippery slope for Exeter. Because
I was about to say that. I wonder what will happen to them, because the manner in which they climbed up to the top, isn't it? Like, because they came to the English Premiership the same time as London Welsh, and I remember London Welsh got rid of their entire squad, or the majority of it. They brought in big names like Piri Wipu, the old All Black scrum half and stuff like that, and then but Exeter kept a nucleus of their championship side and then just augmented it and just improved. And I think London Welsh lost like every game that season. I think
Roland Phillips, wasn't it? Roland Phillips is coach. Yeah. So it'd be well, at some point, same with Reffel, they've got to come home if they want to stay playing for Wales. If Tommy Reffel wants to come home next season, where does he go? Because all four sides have got international open sides.
And really good ones too. I mean, like the best around. Doing that.
Well, I think Cardiff have got 15 open sides, haven't you? I think you
we breed them.
Yeah. But you know what I mean? That's a hard call for him to come home. Same as Rhys Zammit. At some point, Rhys Zammit's going to have to come home if he wants to keep playing for Wales. And, all of us have got top-class wingers. So, difficult. I know we talk about
Zammit's next level, though, isn't he? Is it?
He is, but then where do you bring him in? If you spent 5 years developing, wingers and people like Rio Dyer, and people like, Steph Evans is at the end of his career now, but, do you know what I mean? You spent a lot of time, like Combier spent all of his life coming through Scarlets. Do you then bring in Rhys Zammit and go, well, actually, there's no contract for you, son? I wouldn't do that. I'd stick with my player that I've developed. So, yeah. Anyway, we digress, gents. I digress.
I like you.
Yeah. Let's quickly run through predictions for this weekend then. So I haven't got this written down in front of me, and I'm doing it from memory. So who did Carwyn say the Ospreys are playing? Zebra. So Osprey Zebra. Osprey's missing 15 players, is it? 16 players plus injuries. The Zebra, I'm not sure how many Zebra players are in the Italian squad, but what's your thoughts?
They are away to Zebra, though. Bear in mind, they're not in Swansea, so it'll be tricky.
Yeah.
To do it on the road.
Yeah, because Leinster went their first game of the season and nearly tripped up, didn't they? And so, and we got handed our arse on a plate out there. So you can't underestimate them as how good they are. So what do we think of Ospreys and Zebra score for this weekend then?
They got a strong squad, haven't they? Like they're probably one of the strongest, with the strongest of the four regions. So I'm going to put my neck out and go for an Ospreys by 5.
Ooh.
It's a tricky place to go, but Zebra have, early signs of growth were badly sort of reported.
Yeah. Jane, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, they're two depleted side, as you said. See, we're going to be depleted. The Italian nationals,
Yeah.
Ospreys for Wales. So I do think Ospreys will win, but I think it's going to be close. I don't think it's going to be a runaway victory by any stretch of the imagination. I'll probably go for the same as Reece, actually. Ospreys by 5.
Okay, so Carwyn's not here, so I'm going to go Ospreys by 1, and then we'll move on.
Well done, Lee. I feel that's growth. That's personal growth, Lee.
It's only because Carwyn's not here. If Carwyn was here, I'd say Zebra going to bat here. But I think I'm going to say it's so difficult to predict games like this because you never know who's going to turn up. You never know how it's going to affect this idea. Ospreys have lost a whole front row plus 2 of their replacements. So that's a matter when you base your game around your forwards and then you lose your pack. It's it'll be interesting to see because whichever pack now comes on, that's the team that the Ospreys will be kind of developing and building for the next 3 to 4 years. So yeah, be interesting. So I'll go no, I can't repeat it. No, I've said it once. That's enough.
That's enough for this week.
Ospreys by 1.
Yeah.
I'll give myself a pat on the back. Well
For the end of the season, I expect more.
I set myself a goal. Okay, so who were Cardiff playing again? Cardiff.
We're away to Leinster.
Leinster, yeah, that was it. Leinster.
Exciting. Well, yeah. We're not going to win. I can't see it. Sorry, Cardiff. But yeah, I'm going to say Leinster by 10. I think just the strength of their squads, the powerful way they were a bit sloppy when I was watching them for the majority of the game on Saturday, but then turned it on and scored 3 tries in 10 minutes. Some of them, the one I'm not sure if you saw any of the game, but Ringrose hacks on, collects the ball and just passes it like that to the winger to go over for the try. It was superb. Not going to be there, but yeah, I reckon. I'll say, Leinster by 15.
Oof. James, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, Leinster at home. Even without their Irish internationals, their B or C team could easily dispatch many other sides in the league, and I think they'll do a job on Cardiff. I'm going to go for Leinster by 20.
So I think it'll be a bit closer, just because Leinster they've peaked for Europe. Like I say, that European game, the ground was full. There was like 40-odd thousand people there to watch that game. It was
the Aviva as well, wasn't it?
Yeah. That's how I mean. It's absolutely ridiculous the amount of people that they get to go and see a game. But yeah, I just think that they might have peaked and very difficult to then maintain that. You lose so many players, and then I know they've got quality coming in, but if Cardiff are going to do it, this is a good week to do it. But I'm going to go Leinster by like 5, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's not like a Leinster-ish type of game. Yeah, if Cardiff can break them up, I think there's a strong chance that they could nick it. But say it's our first week. It's the week before the Six Nations, and you just never know what team's going to turn up and how it's going to go. So, but I'm going to go Leinster by 5. There we go, Leinster by 5.
And boys, hope that Leinster do it now, because if Cardiff do it over there, like, isn't it? We witnessed something with Sharks, it's going to
be Jamie, Dragons away in Glasgow, did you say?
No, home.
Home in Glasgow, home against Glasgow.
Yeah.
So they had a bit of a crappy European kind of fixture, and then they came good at the end, didn't they? Am I right on that? Was that Edinburgh?
No, you're about Edinburgh, you are. I think
Edinburgh won their game, yeah.
So what's your thoughts on Glasgow then?
Well, they're going to be depleted as well, and they were the Scottish internationals in camp. Dragons aren't as affected by call-ups as the other regions, but they are vulnerable in key areas. I mean, how is the scrum going to go? Are they going to come out and play awful in the first 40 like they've been doing on so many occasions? I honestly don't know. But then, having said all that, I just got a feeling that we're going to win this. And that's a very dangerous thing to say for me as a Dragons fan. Very dangerous. But I actually think the Dragons will nick it. I think we'll win by 3 points. And I don't know why. There's no logic to it or any reason. I just think I got a feeling we're going to win by 3.
I love blind optimism. It's what I've based my entire rugby watching career on.
You want to get yourself a 12-pack of that peanut butter beer, mate, because it's doing you some good stuff. Reece, what are you reckoning?
I got to go for Glasgow. I think strong side. They will lose a load of their players, I know, but I go for Glasgow by 5.
I'm going to agree with you. Yeah, Glasgow by 5. Just, I would love to see Dragons turn them over. I think so much. Yeah, but so much of it depends on that scrum, and it's just when Leon Brown is coming back, and you think, all right, there's something there to build on, and he's away with the Wales camp, and you're like, yeah, you're back to where you were before. But yeah, it'll be. I think it'll be closer than most people give credit for. But I think, Glasgow by 5 for me on that one. And then so Scarlets have got Bulls at home. I think we've got all 4 South African teams over the space of the Six Nations. I think somebody told me that the other day. I didn't check it to verify it, but yeah, that's a bit shit. Bulls not affected by the Six Nations. Strange that, which kind of, it's little bits like this that it does kind of. I love having the South African sides in the URC. I think it ups your game. It's fantastic, and then you're like, well, yeah, actually, maybe that season's not working out particularly well at this point. But we're not as affected by it in the same way as the Ospreys are. We've got Johan Nicholas to cover Halfpenny at fullback. We've got 4 or 5 up-and-coming hookers that can step in where Ken is. And we've got depth at scrum half as well. Gareth Davies is actually playing really, really well since he's come back from injury. So, yeah, I'm not too bothered by it. I still think it'll be a close game, but I think even with our full-strength side out, we'd struggle. I just hope a little bit of the positivity from the European fixtures is kept with us, and we can, some of those 50-50 passes will stick. And we didn't get a card last week. I think it's the first time this season where we didn't get a card. So, I'm gonna go Bulls by 2. Oh God, I predicted an Ospreys win and a Scarlets loss on the same fucking podcast, boys. Jesus Lord.
Recorded as well, yeah. Don't edit it out now.
I'm going to need to lie down in a dark room. Reece, what do you think?
I'm going to say Bulls power. I think they lost the weekend. They won't want to do that again. So I'm going to say Bulls by 10.
10. Jane?
I think if Bulls come to Park of Scarts fully loaded, I think Scarts are in big trouble because their pack will obliterate you. And they will, because their scrum is ridiculous. I see it for myself at Rodney Parades. They've been going very well, and they're big boys up front. I think Bulls will win this quite comfortably. I think it'd be too powerful for the Scarlets. I'll go for Bulls by 15.
And on that note, then.
If it's full strength. Full strength.
Yeah. I was thinking Jamie's just predicted a Dragons win. Hang on, here we go. We might get something. Oh no. We're gonna get pummeled. Oh fuck, here we go. Right, gents, it's been an absolute pleasure this evening. As always. We
nice one, lads.
Yeah, and it was really good to start the evening with Mr. Buttress. That seems like a really long time ago already, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Thank you for your time, gents, and we shall catch up again and do it all again next week. All the very best.
Nice, lads. All the best. Have a good week.
Enjoy your rugby, gents. Bye. Thank you for listening to this week's show. We hope you enjoyed it enough to come back next week and listen again. So please do subscribe, rate and review the pod, as it really helps us on most of the platforms that we appear on. You can keep the conversation going on Twitter and Facebook by searching for us WRAP, WRRAP, or you can email us on welshregionalrugbypod@gmail.com. We'll be back next week to do some more of the same. We hope you'll come and enjoy us, and in the meantime, enjoy your rugby.
Sports Social Podcast Network.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Coincidence? I think not. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere, even at 30,000 feet. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
No purchase necessary. VGW. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.